Donald Trump then not really specifying where the money for IVF treatments would come from. OK, Israel and Hamas have agreed to several three-day pauses in fighting to allow the vaccinations of more than 600,000 children in Gaza against polio. It's been confirmed that a baby has contracted the disease, the first in the Palestinian territory for a quarter of a century. Lucy Williamson has the latest.
Born a month before the Gaza war began, Abdul Rahman has played a role in pausing it, something world leaders have struggled to do. Earlier this month, Abdul Rahman was diagnosed with polio, the first case in Gaza for 25 years. The family, 9 children in all, live in a camp in central Gaza, displaced multiple times from their home in the north. The constant moving disrupted his vaccinations. His mother says others in the camp are afraid and stop their children playing with him.
The virus stopped his progress. He stopped sitting, stopped walking, stopped crawling, and stopped moving. I want him to be treated. He wants to live and walk like other children.
Abdurrahman's diagnosis has raised fresh alarm over conditions in Gaza's camps. The phased pause in fighting will allow medics to vaccinate more than 500,000 children in stages across the territory. But the conditions that caused this crisis are worsening, say aid organisations, and their solutions are not straightforward.
Due to the insecurity, the damage, the road infrastructure and population displacement, but also based on our experience with this kind of campaigns globally and worldwide, the 3 days might not be enough to achieve adequate vaccination.
Israel's Prime Minister was clear that this was not a ceasefire. The war has so far been resistant to both diplomacy and disease. But preventing another layer of tragedy is seen as one small victory. What the EU's foreign policy chief called a drop of hope in a sea of despair. Lucy Williamson, BBC News, Jenin.
Well, with me now here in the studio is Mohamed Taha from BBC Arabic. And Mohamed, I wonder if we could just first off start with the vaccination programme. I mean, it is fairly significant. This is the first pause. Just how seriously are they taking it that it would cause a pause in the conflict?
Well, we will see, Lukwesa, what will happen. But as you said, this is one of the biggest humanitarian operations in Gaza since the war started more than 10 months ago. The aim is to vaccinate more than 600,000 children across Gaza. This is hope for the people of Gaza. This is giving them some hope and some light in all amongst all what's happening. So the aim is to pause the fighting from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. In these 3 days to be able to vaccinate them. As you can see, children suffered so much in Gaza in this war. Amongst 40,000 people killed in Gaza, more than half of these people are children. Now this polio virus is spreading across Gaza. It causes paralysis, and it is fatal. It is highly infectious. We can see now cooperation from the health authorities in Gaza that's always described as run by Hamas, and the Israeli forces that is practically controlling the whole of Gaza, and the international organization like the World Health Organization, the UNRWA and the UNICEF are all cooperating together to make this campaign happen. The families of the hostages also are calling for the hostages to be vaccinated as well. We're really looking forward to see the UN vehicles across Gaza vaccinating the children in tents, in shanty towns, who are living displaced everywhere.
And concern and calls for a de-escalation in the conflict taking place in the West Bank. What's the latest there?
The conflict in the West Bank and the campaign in the West Bank is still continuing. Israel is focusing on targeting militants in Jenin, in Tobas, and in Tolkarm in the north, and there are operations also in other cities like Nablus and Ramallah and Hebron. It's a massive operation described as the biggest in the West Bank in 20 years. We saw more than 17 people killed at the moment. Most of them, as been said, are militants from Hamas and from Al-Jihad, but the operation is continuing, and people are really complaining about sometimes targeting the infrastructure. The IDF is targeting it to make sure that they can hunt these militants.
Okay, Mohamed Taha, thank you very much for that. Thank you.
For the question.
Around the world and across the UK, this is BBC News.